Hey guys, what is up, and welcome each and every one of you to a new Tesla video. Today, as usual, let's go over the market. Let's see what's happening with Tesla, with the market itself, and figure out what we can expect for the rest of this week and maybe even slightly into next week. So Tesla ending the day up 1.74% at $921.16. That compared to the Nasdaq actually severely outperforming. The Nasdaq was down pretty much 0.3% and the SPY flat down 0.05%. Essentially not moving at all today. I mean, even the QQ itself barely moved today as well, right? Fairly flat day, except for Tesla, which actually held up quite well, considering, you know, the QQQ was red, right? So Tesla not doing actually too bad at all. I mean, they're actually doing quite strong in my opinion. Even though it got insanely hard rejected at this 940 level. And I'm sure you guys remember this 940 level from back here. We struggled with it like pretty much every single day over here until we finally just like ran out of juice essentially, and then, you know, fell down. And now we're back to where we were. So what is going to happen with this level? Again, this level should also be pretty big resistance. Now, the fact that we already broke through some what I thought to be pretty big resistances all the way over here, right? So the 50 MA, the 200 MA, the teal line, the red line, the fact that we just casually just steamrolled through those resistances as if it was nothing is really powerful. Don't get me wrong. But it makes you wonder just how much juice is there left right now, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm kind of wondering right now. Like, how much more push power is there? Now, tomorrow, we do have the Giga Berlin doing their first production, or deliveries rather, to customers and whatnot. I think Elon will be there as well. It's going to be like an event and everything, which is exciting as hell. Of course, I'm going to be watching that for sure. My only issue is sometimes, you know, I am wondering, was that already priced in? Is that going to be a sell the news? Because way back when we were still trading around here, right before I think it was right before the Q4 earnings call, I wanted to sell some shares just to, you know, take some chips off the table essentially. Not obviously everything, but, you know, some. Just, you know, buy back lower. But I didn't. And the reason I didn't was because Q4 call was coming up and I'm like, you know what, it's going to be really bullish. Like, we already kind of ran up, but I'm like, it's just, I can't imagine Q4 call being bad. It's just, and it wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. But essentially after the Q4 call, I forgot when exactly it was. I think it was it here maybe? I can't remember. It was like, oh, it was like right here. We just sell, you can see like the sell-off the next day. Huge sell-off. And it kind of makes me wonder if that's the same thing happening here with this factory opening up, where it's just going to be a sell the news, essentially. We'll see what happens, of course. But again, you know, I do expect this 940 resistance to be major resistance. And like, I keep saying this every time, and Tesla is showing insane strength. Like, I really didn't think it would even go this far today. But like, I would be like legitimately surprised if we also just casually crack this resistance as well and just break through like 4 to 5 barriers that, in my opinion, should have been, some of them especially, pretty tough barriers to break through. And then to keep just breaking through like wall after wall after wall, like, it's pretty unrealistic. Now, is it impossible? Absolutely not, especially with Tesla. You never know with the stock. This stock has a mind of its own. Just as hard as it falls, this thing climbs up just as fast, right? That's the beautiful thing about Tesla, of course. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, like, it's a pretty tough wall to break right now. Almost also because like I'm still expecting us to, you know, run at least a little bit out of steam here, mainly because of the run we just had. So I personally, what I want to see from a bull perspective, of course, is I want to see some consolidation. I want to see a retrace. I want to see a retest of the breakouts. Again, like, ideally, I want to see it back into the like the mid-ish 800s. I personally will be buying more if that happens, of course. I'm personally waiting for that, like the mid 800s. Maybe slightly lower, maybe like 820, 830. I'll be buying for sure. That's like personally what I really want to see, and I really want to, you know, get more shares around that price. Also, I really hope it is a sell the news for tomorrow, mainly because, hey, I get to buy some cheapies. I don't mind. I want it to go down. I want to get more, you know, shares lower. That's what I want. I mean, I don't want to buy up here. I want to buy down here, right? So, or at least again. So that's what I kind of want to see. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now, guys. That's essentially the thing I'm looking for. Now, if you look at it on a smaller time frame, just pretty much off today's movement. So number one, of course, you can see like this massive movement we had up here, right? So we moved up here, consolidated, and then kind of just pretty much went straight up with almost no break in between. Now we're slowly consolidating. Now we're slowly kind of, you know, chilling down a bit, seeing what's happening here, you know, kind of assessing the situation. And you can see it's nowhere near as euphoric, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, let's see what happens here. So you can see it's getting tighter. Now, this is a very common thing, especially after a run up. Technically, this gap hasn't filled yet, but technically after a run up, you know, you kind of consolidate and you start zigzagging up like this, and it kind of gets tighter and tighter and tighter. You can see how it's like the range is kind of getting smaller. Now, there's two ways to look at this in my opinion. Number one, you can look at this as kind of a bull flag. This is kind of like a bull perspective, if you will, right? You can kind of look at it something like this, right? We got somewhat of a bull flag happening, ish, something like that, right? You can kind of argue that, you know, it's something like this. Personally, not the argument, not the thing I would personally look at. It's, you know, it's not the best bull flag in the world in all honesty, but this is like if you really want to find some bullish way to look at it, which it's still very possible. The way I personally look at it is more of a descending wedge, I believe it's called. I'm not really sure what the exact term for it is, but essentially what I personally see here is this. This is what I'm seeing, right? This is in theory, it's a bearish pattern, it is, but you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, bearish or bullish pattern, it doesn't really mean that it'll play out the bearish side, nor does a bullish pattern mean it'll play out the bullish side. So in this case, just because this is a bearish pattern, and in theory, it should play out to the downside, that doesn't mean it will. It kind of just have to see and you know, wait for it to play out. So essentially what you want to see for the bulls is you want to see this break above this line, somewhere above this line, somewhere around it, right? You know, whatever that may be. In this case, you know, it could be like tomorrow somewhere around, you know, maybe 920, you know, and kind of eventually break above it. Because you can see every time we hit this line, we're selling off. But we're selling off to the same level. But it's the point is the selling is happening at a lower level each time. So selling happened here, boom. Selling happened here, now at a lower level, boom. Selling happened here at a lower level, and it keeps getting lower and lower and lower. The selling is happening lower, 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 right? So that's the kind of thing you want to keep in mind. So again, in theory, technically, this is a bearish pattern, but we'll see what happens. Now, the bears, what they want to see is they essentially want to see a break underneath this open from today, which is essentially around 908, 909, something like that. If this essentially falls underneath here, not only are we gap filling, and not only will we probably retest 900, but that's where, you know, momentum can potentially start fading, and I think that is potentially where we're probably going to start seeing the consolidation I was talking about, where we're going to start retesting these lower areas down here to kind of retest the breakout. Now that's personally the outcome I think is more likely, because I mean, we just naturally need a cool off, right? Again, stocks can't only go up, and in fact, you know, with Berlin's opening tomorrow, if we sell off on that, I think that's fantastic, because I'm excited to get some more shares. I'll be completely honest with you guys, not financial advice. So that's what I'm looking for right now, guys. That's essentially what I'm currently thinking for this week, maybe even next week, but we'll see what happens. On top of that, we do have a lot of Fed speaking this week or throughout the week. You know, people from Fed. Today we had Jay Powell speaking, and he actually crashed the market a little bit. He was essentially, the main statement he made that made the market go down was how they will raise the points, the rates rather, more than 25, so essentially like 50 plus if necessary. He essentially said that, yeah, it's very possible that we will do it, like, and if we have to do it, we will do it, which isn't really new. I mean, he said that before, but for some reason the market right here, you can see, or I think it was here or here, it was one of these two, really just didn't like that, and it pretty much fell. I think it was this. So we'll see what happens. And then we have a lot of like Fed people talking this week, a lot of bearish ones too, people that are like very hawkish. So that can potentially be, you know, not good for the market as well. But I do think the whole market as a whole needs to cool off. Like, I mean, the QQQ, the SPY, like, I really think this needs to cool off. Like, this is a ridiculous move for the SPY and the QQQ as well. Like, this needs to cool off. We need to get a healthy retracement, set up potentially higher low, and you know, that's essentially what I want to be seeing just in general for the market, not just Tesla, right? Again, people always say, whenever I say Tesla's going to go down, they think I'm a bear. I'm not a bear, guys. I have hundreds of shares. I literally hold a bunch of positions, and down the road, 5 years from now, Tesla will be, I promise, like much higher than it is now. Not financial advice. I think that's, you know, I'm very bullish on the business. I'm very bullish on the company. Doesn't mean I have to be bullish on the stock price within the next week or two. I could be bearish on the stock price within the next week or two. That doesn't mean I'm bearish on Tesla. That's not the same thing. The stock price, when it moves within, you know, a couple of weeks, days, months, whatever, most of the time, like 80% of the time, is extremely irrelevant to the actual company. It's just traders, it's just macro movements, things like that. It's pretty much irrelevant to the business itself, those kind of movements. So that's essentially what I'm seeing right now. Again, I kept saying that I think Tesla's going to cool off, and it keeps somehow pushing more. And again, it's extremely surprising. This is day 5 now of green. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep it in mind. Day 5 of green. Do what you will with that information. It's probably going to cool off. That's my guess, not financial advice. But let's see what happens, guys. Tomorrow, of course, is going to be a Tuesday. You guys know what I think about Tuesdays, Fridays, and Mondays. Mondays follow Fridays, which Tesla actually followed quite well. Tuesdays tend to be opposite of Mondays. So we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, Luca Berlin opening, very exciting news as well. And times, of course, for Tesla and Tesla shareholders. I'm very excited for it as well. But yeah, let's see what happens, guys. Personally, I'm hoping it breaks down. I want it to crash. I want to buy more shares. That's all it is. But thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.